Welcome to the Horror Slash. I'm Jason, and I'm here with
Megan Sinclair.
How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. We've got a really full show, so we'll get right into it. But I just want to introduce. We're gonna have Andre Gower, who was the leader of the Monster Squad. He's joining us. We're gonna talk some cool stuff with him. Then we've got a new segment today. It's all about your hand right there. Okay, so we got a new segment today. We got a new Horror Slash cast member, and the segment is Spookies B Movies, and you're gonna want to watch this one. This one is gonna be fun. She is really, really cool, and we'll get more on that later. And finally, of course, we got Sassy Sledgehammer joining us, and we had homework. Her and I had to come through with my surprise for her, and I have. And she had to watch the film Clue, and it was actually one of our poll questions. Will she like it? The reason being is Clue is my favorite film of all time, and she had never seen it. So I'm actually pumped about that, but we're going to have to wait on that right now. You ready to bring Andre in?
I'm ready. Bring him in.
Let's do it.
Bring him out.
Cool. So let's see what the leader of the Monster Squad has to say. There he is.
Hello.
How's it going?
Hi.
Pretty good. How are you guys doing?
I'm pretty good. Andre, thanks for joining us.
I like your setup. You were on it. You got some purples. You got some Wolfman's got Nards.
Yeah, we're, a little, it's fun. You grew up around lights and you like to work with lights.
Yeah.
Andre doesn't mess around.
Just trying to make myself not look pasty and old.
I have the same problem. I get washed out very easily. I look like paper sometimes.
I'm good. I don't have that problem, but I've got plenty of other problems. If it makes you guys feel any better.
Must be nice to be perfect, Jason.
Yeah, I got problems. Like I said, I'm open about it. Andre, last time we were talking, we had a really, really great conversation about everything Monster Squad. We're gonna dive right back into that again. Megan's dying to ask you a few questions, but we signed off on that interview, and then a few months later, we almost lost you. So
yeah.
So you had a heart attack. And before we even talk about anything else, I kind of want to know about that because, you and I are kind of close in age, and
right.
Those things rattle you, right? So why don't you tell us a little bit about what happened, if you're willing to, of course.
Totally. That's sort of kind of the new the new conversation. Instead of shamelessly promoting documentaries and go see Wolfman,
yeah.
Digitally download Wolfman's Got Nards. So we get that out of the way. It wasn't too much longer after we talked the first time, right? I believe on the morning of July 3rd, I was playing tennis. And started feeling a little wonky. And ironically, what was weird is, 2 or 3 times this past year that I've been playing tennis, my blood sugar kind of crashed, or I got dehydrated, and it can happen. And so you got to take a break, and you feel good, and you bite on a banana or eat some Gatorade and you're good. I thought that's what this was for the first few minutes.
Yeah.
And so I took myself off the court, and I just kind of laid on the side. I just couldn't get comfortable. Something was off. Something was weird. And it just didn't get any better. And it started to get a little worse. And my hands and feet were tingly. I was seeing kind of some weird colors if I'd shut my eye. It was just really weird. And I finally kind of felt a little better and sat up. And my buddy Mike, who I was with, was they kept hitting and checking on me every minute or so. And at one point he came over and said, "You feel better? You jump back in." And I said, "I'm actually sitting here trying to determine if I'm having a heart attack or not."
Oh, wow.
And he got focused very quickly, and came over, and my good buddy used to be an EMT back in the days, and used to volunteer at the hospital and work with the fire department, stuff like that. It's just kind of like a hobby. And that's how cool this guy is.
Yeah, I was kidding.
he was like, all right, you're not looking better. And he was trying to, just kind of get kind of like a pulse and just kind of feel if I was racing or low. And he was like, you have nothing. He's like, we're out of here.
Yeah.
And luckily for him, like the other guy we're playing with, Greg, like we walked off the court, we got in Mike's car, and we're like, where are we going? I was like, well, there's this new kind of urgent care kind of ER. It's kind of like set up as like a, not a doc in the box, but kind of like a little setup. It's pretty nice, and it's brand new and it's real close. And so we just jammed up. There's literally like a mile away. We pulled in there, and luckily there's no one in there. And they got me back, and we're setting up some leads to try to figure out what it is. And the doctor was like, "What's going on?" And Mike said he's having a heart attack. And he goes, "Well, we'll check it out." And he's like, "He's having a heart attack." And I was like, I think I might be. And he goes, "Okay, well, we'll get you set up, and I'll be back in a minute." And they finally got the leads on me to get a EKG going. That dude came back in the room and looked at the monitor and stopped cold, and his jaw dropped. And I went, "Oh shit."
Oh God. That's
and
not a good feeling.
No, I did not like the expression on his face. And I knew I was in trouble. And he said, "Okay, you can't stay here. I've got to get you out of here." Then he just started, kind of barking orders to, kind of the nursing team. And they started throwing lines in me and getting all the stuff. So the pace went into another gear.
Yeah. And
he said, "All right, here's the deal. You are actively having a heart attack right now. And I'm getting you out of here. And let's," and he actually asked me, he goes, "Where do you want to go?" I was like,
okay.
The taco place? Like, let's go to the taco place. And I said, well, because there's a big hospital, like a mile and a half down the road. I said, well, the big ER is right down the road. He goes, "That's a good choice. And the ambulance is already here." Yeah. They had called right away, and it was around the corner, and they threw me in that and jammed me down the road. And I swear she power slid, and I just shot out the back because I was in that ER in like a second. And I thought it was like a total Dukes of Hazzard move. I had everything was going so fast, and there's a reason, because they knew what was happening. I was having a STEMI, which is kind of like the code word for, like, I think if you watch TV shows in the 90s, they called it, a hot MI. And, now it's called a STEMI, which is a ST elevation myocardial infarction. But STEMI is just cuter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, but they have they have a whole STEMI protocol. And so you basically, you're a priority. Yeah. And luckily so. And that ER team worked on me for 10 or 12 minutes, and the cath lab team was there waiting. And so the cath lab team, the next thing I'm getting all these other lines in me, other meds, readings, and it's just, the pace is crazy. Mm-hmm. And I'm flying down a hallway, and you just see that the proverbial fluorescent lights flying, because you can only look up.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man, this is okay, this is happening. And next thing I know, I'm in the cath lab, and it's a big the catheterization lab in the surgical suite, and I'm transferring tables, and they're talking to me, and I got someone talking on this ear, and like this guy's checking over here, and a guy's shaving my hip area. And I'm like, and I even asked, I was like, "Is there any chance we do this through the wrist?" And they're like, "That's not happening today, because you can do this through the wrist, but it's not an emergent situation." Yeah. Oh, wow. And he goes, no, this is happening. I was like, "Oh crap." Holy and crap. Within like 3 minutes, he had the 2 lines in my femoral vein and my femoral artery. And the cardiologist, the surgeon, was in the other room looking at the films and watching, because there's a big camera on you, and which is amazing. And then he's in there the next few minutes, and he's working inside your heart, through the wires through your leg. And I'm there, like I'm answering, I'm asking questions, I'm finding out what's going on. They're asking me things, I'm listening. And really? it was surreal, such a dumb word in cases like this. It just doesn't really fit. Yeah. I felt like I was a kind of a third party observer to my own like almost demise. It was really weird. And but apparently what happened, my right coronary artery ruptured.
Oh,
And apparently, and if new info comes to pass, then we find out it's different, then I will update. But when you have a rupture, your body reacts by clotting. And the clot grew so large that it shut off that artery completely. So the thing that was forming to kind of help save you was killing you.
wow.
And so for way too long of a time, the right side of my heart had no blood flow and oxygen to it. So it's not working. It's unable to work. So that muscle just dies. Not, this isn't the blood inside your heart chamber that's going to your body. This is the blood supply supplying the muscle. And as he's working and talking, explain what's going on. This is not good.
Wow.
But what's crazy, it was the only way I'd explain it was a massive amount of experience in a very, very short amount of time.
Yeah.
Then it was over. And it seems flippant and weird and kind of like, oh, okay, it's over now.
Yeah.
But what had happened, he'd gone in there and he had to go in there with the cath and the angio cath and open up the blockage to start blood flow. But then the blood clot broke free and released. So he had to go chase that.
Are you serious?
And
it's like a video game.
Yeah.
Yes. And after the fact, when he was showing me the video, he's like, and this is the blood. I had to go. And I remember 15 minutes earlier when that happened, because the room tone changed and he had to switch gears because that clot could have gone and gotten me again somewhere deeper in my heart or gotten loose and gone elsewhere. And so that was crazy. And then they got that out. And then apparently they didn't tell me this at the time, but I read it in the record. I went into VTAC, which is ventricular tachycardia, which you either fix by shocking or with meds. And they chose to fix it with some meds, and it worked. So my heart settled down because it's going through this just crazy ordeal, and it just starts wigging out apparently.
Yeah.
And and so they fixed that, and then a few minutes later it's over. And it's just sort of the aftermath. It's just going through this weird, like when you wake up from like just a really disturbing dream in your body, you don't know what to do, and you're like, okay, what's going on? Did I dream that? Did that just happen? And then the kind of surgical nurse, like he showed me the clot like on a piece of gauze.
Really?
And I was like, that's rad.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I don't collect coronary clot. Like, is that a good one? Like, I'm not an arbiter.
Can I put it in a jar?
So I said, is that a good one? Did I do good? He goes, dude, this is a pretty big clot. And I was like, oh, okay. So we got it, and we're good. Like, I got in here in time. And he said, oh, you got in this room with about 10 minutes to go. And I was like, wow. Oh, okay. Wow. And I was like, oh, okay. And then someone else asked me, I was dealing with something else. And then I said, hey, by the way, can I keep that? I said, can I have that clot? And he's like, oh, I just tossed it in the I was like, he goes, I totally would have saved it. I was like, I totally would have kept that and saved it and and talked to it, and like,
I would have loved to have seen it on here.
Yeah, I would have gone on tour with it or something. Right. It's insane. But and then it was just sort of this thing where then the surgeon comes back and showed me the video of what happened and explained, and then I went to the ICU for 3 days. And
wow.
So you go through this kind of like the kind of critical moments, and then you're just kind of laying in this ICU room and just trying not to, hopefully you're not as damaged as you could be. And we just didn't know for like a day and a half, because I still had the lines in. I had a temporary pacemaker actually running the show. And because they had it paced way too high, they had it paced at what they wanted it at. And I actually normally have a very low heart rate, always have. And it's not low and weak, it's low because it's strong and efficient.
Yeah, me too.
Super lucky. And but I was paced all night and I couldn't really sleep because you got this thing banging away on you, like making you're like, I can't sleep. And you're just really uncomfortable, and honestly, you're a little bit scared.
Yeah, for sure.
And you try to relax, you try to keep it together. And my main goal, I knew that we would know in a day or two how much damage I had in my heart muscle, and I just did not want to leave with a permanent pacemaker, which we did not know. We did not know if that was the case until like the next day, and did not have to. I kind of bounced back a little bit. My heart started working to spec. Yeah. And was strong enough. And then 2 days after that, I was out, or the next day, actually, really. So it was wow. It was like I said, a massive amount of experience in a very short amount of time. And then now, things are, I don't want to say nothing's ever the same now.
Yeah.
Because I went through this ordeal. You have this issue. I have a stent. Okay. So I have a stent in my right coronary artery, which is keeping that damaged artery open and, to heal. Mm-hmm. But my other coronary artery, my LAD, which they call the Widowmaker, is a potential problem.
Oh, really?
And I was like, in what way? And they're like, well, it's 50% occluded, which means, narrowed. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. No. I said, okay, well, I'm here and I'm hooked up. I've got the lines in. You want to go in and fix it? Yeah. While I'm here.
Would you mind?
Yeah. And either because now they do different stuff. They can actually remove some of the blockage, or they can throw another stent in there and keep it open. Because everybody has stents now. Like, I didn't know how many people had stents until I started talking with people like, oh, I got 2 of those. I'm like, really? And not many are 48 and healthy. Yeah. But I was like, well, I'm right here. Just go. You're right here. You're the guy. Like, get it done. And they're like, oh, well, we actually don't intervene until it's 70%. And I was like,
that's brutal. Intervene.
Why?
Please.
Apparently there's apparently there's probably some medical statistic, or either they just won't repeat business because you're definitely going back. Wow. But that was a little, are you sure?
Yeah.
And then when you have your follow-up appointments and they're like, yeah, we don't intervene until it's 70%. Ironically, most ruptures happen between 50 and 60. And I'm like, wow. This does not compute. This is illogical. Reboot.
What the hell?
So, it's something that, they don't do. They want to treat, medically for now. And maybe it stays or it gets a little bit better. But I will probably at one point preventively, go back in and throw a stent in that one.
I was going to say, can you demand it? Like, I don't know, like how that works, but can you just?
No, I think it's like,
can't.
It's like, a doctor's got to be like, we're doing this.
Wow.
I think it's sort of like, their call, and I'm like, great.
You gotta find a doctor to work with you on that one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I have my cardiologist now is someone we actually knew. He's a pretty well-known cardiologist in town. He's not known for being a cardiologist. He's actually a really good juggler, but he's like he has a show at the Sands, which isn't even there anymore. It's a dumb joke. But
well, you live in Vegas, right?
But anyway, I'm staying in Vegas now.
Staying in Vegas, yeah.
I came here during when everything kind of shut down, and because LA I knew was going to kind of be not a great place, and everything that I do, I live in kind of 2 different worlds where I do work. All of that shut down, for a minimum of a year, which I knew. And we have a house here. We have 2 houses. My sister lives here, and my mom lives here, and so it was just easier. And one of my best friends lives here. Luckily, is the guy I was playing tennis with. And,
so I was going to say, have you bought him a drink yet? Or
yeah.
All right,
plenty.
Yeah, he's gotten a lot of love on social media too, and he's not even on. So he's like, don't tag me. He's like,
no, really?
Don't tag me. I'm good. Don't tag me.
Yeah, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, and it's
so
So it's been 2 months, and it's, you're different. You're a little bit slower. Your energy's a little low. You don't get that back, they say, till about 5 or 6 months.
Okay.
But I've been kind of hoping, I've been trying to ramp up my activity, kind of weekly, and just kind of, get that wind back, or but you feel a little, you feel a little gun shy every once in a while. You feel a little ticking time bomb. But you got to get past that, and so it's that's good, and I'm feeling good enough at this point, and tests look good for now.
Good.
That I can start going out and like doing stuff. So I'm actually traveling in October, and doing some appearances. So
good.
I'm like, I'm not going to wait around a year and like, let's go. This is what I enjoy. This is fun. This will be helpful
for sure.
This will be an activity. It's probably going to wear my ass out, but like my October is like, my dance card is full in October.
Really?
Yeah.
Which I don't mind, because I'm grateful enough that I can have a dance card.
Yeah, no, that's
very true. Yeah.
We're happy about that too.
That's sort of the spiel. So ask questions away, or go to whatever. It's your show. So
well, I just want to. I
sort
do
of the backstory.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that, and I mean, and it's great that you're here to talk about it. One thing I want, like, was there anything that you could have seen, like I know you said when you played tennis before, you weren't feeling the greatest, but was there any way you could have foreseen this? Is there any kind of precautions one can take to prevent this from happening, or does it just happen?
And I think in my case, I don't know for sure, because probably the main thing that you could have done didn't happen in the subsequent or previous years, to kind of back up against and have kind of like Monday morning quarterbacking. And mostly the answer is, I'm 48.
Yeah.
And I think I'm 38. And I act like I'm 8.
Yeah.
So when you like, and in the last couple of years, I the things that you probably should do even deeper or diligent, or your annual checkup or whatever, didn't happen the last couple of years. But I don't know if just basic stuff would have seen anything, to actually try to answer your question.
Yeah.
In-depth testing, or just annual testing of a cardiac nature, or, scans or echoes, or, nuclear stress tests, things like that. You usually don't have that in-depth stuff until after you have an event.
Yeah.
Those aren't really most of the preventative stuff, unless you already have problems or symptoms. Now,
or history.
Saying that, I don't know. It was kind of odd. And everybody, that's usually the first question that people ask. The second question is, now you have to change your lifestyle. Like, you've got to cut everything out and do all this. And I was like, let me explain.
Yeah.
When most people have an issue like this, and they have to change their lifestyle, and they actually change to my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. I'm always active.
So
I'm pretty in shape. I work out. I've always been athletic. I eat fairly well. Sometimes I eat really well.
Yeah.
I don't smoke. I don't use, which would just kills your body. And I don't. I mean, I've drank in my life, and there was times where I drank more than I do. I mean, I may have a drink like every 4 months now, which is technically only like doesn't count as drink.
No, that's not.
And all those things contribute. My lifestyle on that kind of like good living or clean living is pretty high.
Yeah.
Lifestyle, when it comes to biology, is important. Don't get me wrong. It's certainly important. It is secondary, though, to whatever your genetic makeup is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm sort of behind the 8 ball on this particular thing with genetics on both sides of my family, which I think is something that I've always known this, but I think that's also why my lifestyle is what it is.
Yeah.
That I don't really kind of push it or risk it. And I think that got me all the way to the point. But I don't know, if anything preventative or not would have said, hey, you're about to have a blowout and you're going to have a heart attack. I don't know. I hope not, because then you're like, well, I should have checked.
Yeah.
And so that's sort of one of the conversations and messages going forward. And like I said, I'm 48. I'm not 38. and I'd love to be 28 again.
It's a good
but
age.
you get to the point, you should pay attention.
Yeah.
You should get things checked. Even if you think you're in tune with your body, you can't see through it.
Yeah.
So it's okay, at least to go get your basic stuff done. Blood work's very, indicative. Having your annual physical, it sounds cliche and sounds like a pamphlet in the lobby of the doctor's office, but it is. So don't pass that up. Be diligent. If you think something is kind of off or weird, go get it checked out. What are you going to lose? A couple hours?
Yeah, no, for sure.
And so like my new kind of slogan motto that I throw out at people is like, it's better to be wrong than too late.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Absolutely.
So
that's awesome.
Even little simple things. And if you go get checked out and everything looks great, which I've been on podcasts, people said, hey, your thing made me go get looked at.
Yeah,
I just wanted to know.
Jason.
And I'm like that. And if that's my role in this that I could do later, I'm totally fine with that.
Absolutely.
And they said nothing. He goes, actually, everything was actually okay, but I eat like shit. And so I have now changed my diet. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's not, people are averse to change because they think they have to do giant steps.
Yeah.
And really little steps is really make big impacts. And that's all it really is. It's just find something. Whether it and a lot of people's like, well, I drink a lot of soda and I love it. And I was like, okay. Yeah. Cut it back by 25%. If you have 4 cans of Coke a day, have 3. See what that does.
Yeah.
And then one day you actually get off soda. Yeah. And then when actually you get off soda and a month later, you'll never want one again.
Yeah, seriously.
I agree. And it's okay. And if you smoke, you smoke a pack a day, smoke half a pack a day.
Yeah.
Just those are attainable little wins. We're humans. We're very lazy and we don't like to give up the things that we enjoy.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. It's
people
work,
tell
right?
me stop watching Law and Order SVU reruns all day long, and I was like, I'll only watch 6 today. So that's my rule.
You have to pry me from my TV. I will never stop. That is one thing.
So so that's, I mean, we're happy to have you, and we're gonna hope that everything continues on the path it's going on. I mean, it sounds like you're on it, which is always a positive. And
yes, hopefully, it's not over. Yeah. It's not,
it's not over.
It's a whole other world. I've still got a thing, and I've still, you got to take your meds, and you got to.
But you're trending the right way.
I'm trying to trend the right way. Yeah,
that's
definitely.
good.
I appreciate it.
That's definitely a plus. But let's lighten the mood a little bit. Let's go way back to before we had to worry about all these health problems. Back to 1987. For the Monster Squad, the iconic movie that has made you a rock star even decades later. I was saying how much of a fan of this movie I was right from the get-go. I didn't have to wait for it to come around. I was there. I was that age. I was like, I had my Monster Squad cards made out and everything like that. So I was on board. I love this film. And Megan, why don't you talk to him about it?
All right, so I didn't grow up seeing Monster Squad. I actually didn't watch it until probably like 4 years ago. And mind you, like I was out in California. I was doing the whole industry thing, makeup. Like I fucking love monsters. Yeah. So it was weird. And I didn't have a love for monsters until very late in life, unfortunately. So when I watched it for the first time, I was like, this shit holds up. And so it was really funny because my ex, he was a huge fan of it. He's the one that showed it to me. So it was kind of cool seeing like one person that grew up with it, like way back in the day when it was totally like on brand with what was going on at the time. And then me watching it and be like, this shit still holds up, like no problem. So I thought that was really fun. It's just something that like when I have kids, I can show it to my kids and they're gonna be like, whoa, monsters, So I thought it was I loved it. Yeah. I don't know. I just love anything that's horror, but also comedy. Like it's just two things that go so well together, which you don't expect to go well together.
No doubt. And it's, I want to touch on your, it's a deeper point that you actually made that you may not be aware that you did connect with is And we're only kind of really finding this out in the last couple of years, and as more and more people bring it up. But yeah, you just saw it as an adult recently, and it should be campy and lame and doesn't hold up, and it's like, oh wow, you know, they made movies really bad back in those days. But there's something about, and I think it was unplanned, but a combination of the genres, of the styles, of the stories, of the characters, of how the characters interacted with each other, how like Sean and Phoebe interact with their parents, the situations that were going on in this movie, the overall themes, the overall messages, all the stuff where now I think people write stuff and try to hit those marks. I think they were just making a fun script back in, you know, the day when Fred and Shane wrote it, and unbeknownst to them, hit all of these marks. And that's what people connected to, and that's enabled it to almost, I don't want to say be timeless, but doesn't go stale with the themes or the archetypes or the things that actually hit, you know, us as humans, whether you're 12 when you see it or whether you're 22 or you know, whatever. And then also, I just earthquake. You know, when you watch this movie as an original fan as a kid, it's a whole other world. I have a lot of fans that come up to me and say, I now have a 5-year-old and I watch Monster Squad, and it's a completely different movie to me.
Aww.
And I still love it, but now I'm seeing it through a different lens because I'm a parent. And all these things hit me now that I never saw before as a kid. So it doesn't diminish their original experience, it just adds to it. And so that starts leading to and then your point, there's a second half that I want to make deeper about the technical aspects of it and the industry stuff. But there's people that we've had conversations this last year that in 2050, people will still want to and enjoy watching Monster Squad and films that kind of do the same thing because of those connections and those themes and those archetypes and those human condition things that matter to people. And no one's going to watch Infinity War. In 2050, no one's going to want to watch Infinity.
It's too much to watch too. You got to do a lot of homework to get there.
That's right. And I think that's an interesting conversation. I sort of take myself out of it because I'll be like, yeah, you're going to be watching my movie in another 30 years after this. Like, haha, look at us. I try to stay out of that, you know, to be you know, a little, you know, pompous on it. But I don't think they're wrong. And it's not just our movie. I think there's other movies that still hold up. And some are my favorites. But on the technical aspect, you're saying like the monster, the creature, you know, effects of it were in this transition period of these guys recreating how creatures are built, not only the aesthetic, but also the physical manufacturing and creation of these things. And that changed the game in the late 80s, early 90s, and it affects the industry all the way to today.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. I think it's definitely in that sweet spot of like in the industry with like stuff like Freddy and like very memorable characters where you look at it, you're like, oh, that's fucking Monster Squad. I know who that is, you know. And it's just, I think it's really hard to do that in today's world because there's like, you say that like, oh, people might think it's campy, but like when it comes to the makeup and those types of things, I think that's why people sort of like it. Like it's a character, you know, it's not meant to be like this beautiful, like intrinsic silicone piece. Like it's just meant to be a monster. And I think we really miss out on that because I think people want to have such like a realism aspect to their monsters these days instead of keeping it fun.
Yeah. It's so
no doubt.
So that's really cool. Yeah, so she's got the insight on that because that's her career now. What's the what was the set life like on that movie? Because like every kid that loves monsters, you know, that's a dream job, right? And every adult that watches it and wishes that, you know, that set life there, that making that film would be like a dream job. What was it like in reality for you on that set?
It was a little bit of everything. First of all, like, when you're an actor, whether you're 13 or you're 33, you're one, fortunate, but two, excited just to be on a set of a big feature film being made, because not everybody gets to do that. If your movie is sort of like a fun story and a lot of cool shit going on, and it's even more rad. It was a fun neighborhood romp with kids, and there's jokes and there's fun with a lot of heart and authenticity. That's the two key things, I think, with the story, with the characters. But we're also on an adventure, and then we also have monsters, and we're in peril, and there's stuff blowing up, and like we're racing around in cars, and doing a lot of fun stuff. So there was so much going on the set that it was really a fun adventure actually making the movie. With that said, it wasn't a party.
Yeah. Because
a movie set, especially one that costs millions and millions and millions of dollars to make, is a workplace. And it's a thing where time is money. And especially when you're the kids on it. No one likes working with kids. No one likes working with animals. It's an old W.C. Fields thing. So it's always a hindrance if you have kids around anyway, because of laws, because of time restraints, because of hours in the day, and all these regulations. So it's always a hindrance. And you're aware of that as the kid. And it's like, that must have been so fun to do that TV show. Or that must have been so fun to make the Monster Squad. You're like, you know what? It was. But it was also a lot of work, and you had to show up every day, know exactly what you were doing, how to do it, and not fuck around.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, especially you have so many moving parts to it too. You don't just have kids on set, you have people in huge makeups on set. And you gotta reach the deadline. You're showing up at 9 a.m. to report to set, and then you got to get in the schoolroom for an hour and then go do a scene. Tom Noonan got there. Did you have to learn while you were on set, out of curiosity? I never know how it works with kids on set. Do you guys actually have to do classes?
Oh yeah, that's a state law. You have to have a minimum of 3 hours of school a day. With the set teacher, and those 3 hours, and depending on how old you are, you can only be on set for a certain amount of hours, and that includes those 3 hours.
Wow.
So you have even less time to get the work done, and that's why it's really when the kid, I think on a good set, the kids have to be the most professionals, or the strongest professionals. And like I was saying, if you're showing up at 9 as a kid, to report to set and then get in the schoolroom for an hour and then go do a scene. Tom Noonan got there at 4 a.m. because it's 3 hours of makeup before he can even go in front of the camera. And
Tom Noonan played Frankenstein, for those
I tell you, Frankenstein's monster. Then his get up was the most time consuming. I think it was about 3 hours or 3.5 hours of makeup every day of getting in, because those are different applications and have to put it together. Everything took time. Even Duncan Regeer took 2 hours to get into his Dracula stuff. Michael getting into that mummy suit, that was sort of like a bodysuit wrap, but still had a face application and wrap it, and it was a little bit easier. And the Wolfman was a suit with a helmet, and they had different ones, so that took time. And the Gill Man was a game changer, and Tom Woodruff Jr. was the guy in the Gill Man suit that was built by Matt Rose and Steve Wang, the first time ever of building a one-piece latex suit that the performer gets in. You get glued into that suit, and you're in it for 15, 18 hours, and you're not coming out of it.
I'd hate to be the one that's in that suit.
Yeah, and that was Tom Woodruff Jr., who, interestingly enough, was the makeup artist that did the Frankenstein makeups. But he also, this was the first time, and he asked Stan and he asked the producers if he could perform in the Gillman suit. So Steve and Matt made that suit for his body, and that was the first time Tom ever creature performed, and that was his whole other career. That's cool. Being a creature performer, and he's played everything from Alien to the Predator. So that's awesome.
Yeah. Honestly, re-listening to how everything was done, I want to watch this movie again so bad. I'm probably going to watch it as soon as I'm done with this podcast. It's going on the TV. It's just so fun. It's just so fun to learn about, and you have an entire documentary to go with it. And I love the idea of a follow-up documentary to go with the movie. I think that's so great.
Right, and there's no wrong answer here. But have you seen the documentary yet by chance? Because there's some
Not yet.
So we go into kind of the creation and the makeups of the creatures a little bit. So you'll enjoy that part. So
Yeah.
I'll let that segment speak for itself, and then we can come back and chat about that at some point.
Yeah, definitely.
So I wanted to ask, so the, I mean, the document. So I did see Wolfman's Got Nards, and we'll get to that in a sec. Is there any kind of, could there possibly be any extended Monster Squad released? Is there footage there that you exists, didn't make the cut, or is there like any kind of behind the scenes stuff that hasn't been explored yet? Do you know about anything like that?
Well, when they first did the initial 20th anniversary dual disc DVD release, they had some interviews, which mine's awful. And they did some deleted scenes as a bonus feature, and they did like 8 or 9 minutes. But what's crazy is they did not include what I think is the most important shot yet deleted scene in this entire movie, because it sets up the entire reason everything else happens.
Oh,
Story-wise,
I thought you were going to say it was the boob shot with Frankenstein in the window.
Oh no, I would never be that. I would never be that crass or while recording or honest. No, there was no gratuitous nudity of Monster Squad. But I am in my underwear, which is weird. And I was like, "Can I put a t-shirt on?" Like, let's put a t-shirt on. And years later, you're like, you know what? It's glad that we put a t-shirt on. But to answer your question, Jason, and then I'll answer what scene it is. I don't know if there's any other. I think that scene's floating around on YouTube somewhere. Maybe it's just on the dark web, but I don't know if there's any more, because
you're not aware.
There's not much more than that were in there. Just that scene. They even included a scene on the 2007 DVD that I forgot we shot.
Oh, really?
I was like, oh, I don't remember this kind of going up the steps to the creepy mansion. That's weird. And it would be cool. I don't know. Everybody wants one.
It'd be awesome. Like, honestly, there's movies that, like, you see the special. I got, like, the Monster Squad Blu-rays and DVDs and stuff like that. And I always think, like, there's certain movies that I would just want more of, right? And that's one of them. I just feel like, there's probably some things cut out, or maybe just not shot, unfortunately, or whatever, which you can't do nothing about that. But I figured I gotta ask, and and hold on.
And that's more, I think the not shot is more of what I personally want to see, because the original drafts of the script was a lot longer, a lot more in depth, a lot larger, cool shit, made us look even neater as the kids. And some of the scenes were better. And what we see in an 82-minute movie, an 82-minute feature film is very, very quick. You could use 7 more minutes, and it does move around 90, and you'd be like, whoa, and it's still good. But there were some things that we didn't shoot, and some of them were not only germane to the story, but I think important, and also cool because my character was in some of them that just never got shot. But to answer your question about the most important scene that is not in the movie, that I think is in the story, that actually was shot, just I don't know why they didn't keep it, is in the cold open, back in 1887, where Van Helsing and his band of freedom fighters are battling the forces of evil in a forest. Now, a little backstory: in Shane's original draft in Transylvania in 1887, there's it's like in a marine invasion. There's like 100 warships and like 2,000 guys getting off and invading this land and having this giant epic Lord of the Rings battle, in the forest near the coast. And then they fight their way to Dracula's castle, and hunting him, and go through the whole, do the and there were zeppelins in the air, like guys were rappelling from zeppelins and shit. I was like, oh, this is really cool. The entire budget of the movie would have been eaten up in that first sequence. So they cut it down, and it was just, okay, these guys going down like a cobblestone road near a castle. But if you know the Monster Squad story and you have the amulet, you have at a certain amount of time, you can open up limbo and, all evil will be sucked in and held for 100 years, right? Well, our movie opens with a crawl, not unlike Star Wars, but, we open up with a crawl and, it says, this band of freedom fighters fight Dracula, the force of evil, and they blew it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows the they blew it part. Well, then we open up. It's cold open. It's 1887. See an old guy. Limbo opens up. The young German girl gets sucked into the vortex, but we don't. And then it goes bloop, and it's with us in the principal's office.
Yeah.
No one knows how they blew it.
Yeah.
No one gets it. And how they blew it. And it's this gorgeous scene. And it's kind of 2 different sequences or 3 different sequences. And my lament, as I always lament about missing pages of script that got rewritten or just yanked, or scenes that we shot that got deleted, or scenes that never even got shot. Most good movies or stories, but definitely Shane Black and Fred Decker written scripts, are a series of setups and payoffs. There's a setup and then you get a payoff. It doesn't come right away. It may be inside Act 1 or a scene, or it may get set up in Act 1 and not paid off until the end of Act 3. And good movies do that because it keeps you going. It gives you what you want to set up and you kind of go on this ride. And that's very Fred and Shane-esque if you watch all of their stuff. And Monster Squad script was a series of setups and payoffs. The movie we get is a whole bunch of setups that you never get the payoff, and a lot of payoffs that you don't know are payoffs because you didn't get the setup. And I always lament that as a kid that was in the movie because I saw what was there on the page.
Yeah.
And there's 2 main things. And the main sequence that I think of as most important is explains how they blew it, but also explains a ton more story-wise, and is also an amazing setup to a great setup for Ryan Lambert, Rudy at the end. And what it is when Van Helsing's guys are battling, this group of minions, they're chasing Dracula through the forest, and they catch him, and they stake him. And they throw Duncan up against this tree, and he's like, and there's this great photo that I have a production still, but it's behind Jack Gwillem, the guy that played Van Helsing. It's from behind his shoulder, and Duncan's just got this look on his face because he's got a stake in his chest, and this mallet is getting ready to just drive it home. It's a wonderful still photo, and it's a great scene. So they stake Dracula, they throw his corpse in a wagon, and then they go up to read the spell and open up limbo. They leave a guy to guard the body of Dracula by a campfire. And I call him like our red shirt. Like he's the guy that gets, and as he's sitting there guarding this body of Dracula, vampire brides come out of the mist towards him. And he's like, oh shit. And the first one, he pulls out his crossbow and goes, thump, gets her.
Okay.
The second one's closer. He's like, oh shit. He grabs a stake and stakes her, and she goes down. The third one is on him and choking him, and he's about to go down, and he's flailing around. His hand finds a stake. He grabs it and kills her. And he's like, I did it. But as we all know in vampire lore, when you unstake a vampire, they come back to life. And the stake that he flailed around and found was the one that was in Dracula in the wagon. And so he sits there and relishing in his win of killing these 3 vampire brides. And Duncan Regier does the proverbial, I'm going to sit up and look at you in the wagon. And it cuts to present day.
Oh, wow.
That's how they blew it. They staked him, but he got away.
Wow.
They still did the limbo thing, but Dracula escapes. So what I've realized, that's a big story.
Yeah.
And like,
no kidding,
we get that. But then everybody always comments of one, how badass and amazing Duncan Regier is as Dracula. And he is. He absolutely is. But everybody was like, and Dracula's pretty pissed off. Like he doesn't mess around. Like he literally thinks you're in that treehouse and throws a stick of dynamite to blow 5 kids up. Like this guy is not, he is not nice.
No.
I mean, he sends Frankenstein's monster to to kill us.
Kill kids. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why is he, he's so angry and he's so mad? And it's not just because he's a monster, because Dracula's not a monster. Dracula's a vampire that used to be a guy that didn't choose, that maybe not have chosen to be this way. And so he's a little annoyed at the universe. But Dracula gets away in the cold open, and he's been walking around for 100 years waiting for this moment, and a bunch of little kids get in his way. That's what
I'd be mad if I was Drac.
He's like, I've been walking around for 99.99 years for this moment in time, this hour.
Yeah.
And I got to deal with this shit?
Yeah.
No. I don't. You should have seen what I've done over the last 99 years. Like, I have wrecked some shit.
Let me pull out my resume for y'all.
That's right. Which I
That's
think,
funny.
If everybody else asked me about, a broader Monster Squad, we use the term universe now, broad Monster Squad, content. Everybody wants to, sequel would be great, animated series would be cool, whatever, comic books. I think a series in the Monster Squad universe of what Dracula was doing from 1887 up until 1987, and each season is a decade, I would be totally down with that.
Yeah, God, that'd be awesome.
And because like everybody always joked, like, where did you get dynamite? Because it was in this old like suede satchel. I was like, yeah, he probably stole that from when they were building the Panama Canal. He's had dynamite laying around for 90 years. Like, I don't.
Sure, it could go anywhere. It could go.
What
anywhere.
was he doing?
Awesome.
And then there's some really deep stuff that could be super restitched in our minds that usually when we go and have some kind of like supernatural stuff, like Marvel does it, and DC did it with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was set during World War I, but there was a supernatural undercurrent to the god of war, the god of evil, was making this happen. I love that idea. So why isn't Dracula around during all of the bad shit that happened in the 20th century? Yeah. Like, why is he not? He's Eastern European. I'm sure he worked with the third. I'm sure he kind of was around working with the Third Reich. The Third Reich was all into the occult. Yeah. It scoured the earth to find occult artifacts and experts. And I mean, damn, that's a television show. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is.
It's a great story. So, I wrote that treatment down a while ago, and I had that concept, and I would love to see what Dracula was doing for 100 years up until 5 kids in the 80s ruined his plan.
Yeah,
that'd
really
be
fucked
awesome.
it up.
So we are kind of running low for time, but I definitely want to talk.
Sorry.
No.
I'm good on time.
Never apologize.
Don't feel bad for me. So it's good.
I just wanted to. I definitely want to talk about Wolfman's Got Nards, because last time we talked, I hadn't seen it. I think I was in the mail, and I think I got it like a day after or 2 days. And I'm like, damn it. But anyway, so I watched it, and it wasn't what I expected. I thought it was going to be kind of more just like, behind the scenes and stuff like, and which it had, obviously, but this was like a rock tour of the Monster Squad cast. You guys were going around from theater to theater and being celebrated, and it was really, really cool. I thought it was really, really well put together. I hadn't seen anything like that before for a film. I mean, not to say I've seen everything, but that was a pretty cool concept, and it was very well put together, very unique. And then, I mean, and it's loaded with so much like cool artwork, stills, it was really, really well done, and what a Monster Squad fan would want. And congratulations on that.
Oh, well, definitely, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I didn't make this movie by myself. There's a team, a small team, but a team of awesome people that really brought all of what we had thought should and could and needed to be in here. And how do we do that? Led by my man Henry McComas, and Wes Caldwell and Aaron Kunkel and Shane Patterson, and even kind of just production people like Eric Lukowski and Jen Off, and the executives at Pilgrim Media Group that were my studio partners on this. But I had this small team of production people, and led by Henry. And it was Henry and I that kind of really wanted to find a unique way to do exactly what we were aiming to do. And to hear you say, one, that it wasn't what we were expecting, that's a win.
Yeah.
And
It was good.
to also come at it with, because there's so much there. And this doc is jam-packed with a lot of stuff, and we had to find, and there's stuff that's not in it that you really thought should be in it.
Yeah.
Some great interviews and some great stories. And as Henry was editing this thing over time, what we had changed about 5 or 6 times, completely, fundamentally. The whole thing changed.
Yeah.
Because we'd get a different experience at an event, or we'd get a different interview that just kind of changed the whole paradigm. And we knew we had, I knew we were lucky being able to get the Alamo Drafthouse 30th anniversary tour on camera, because I had set that up with the Alamo and brought Ashley and Ryan with us in 17 cities, in 17 days, unfortunately. So it was really like a rock tour, but we realized, and I took my crew with me, and we documented all of that. And we plucked out the best of it. We realized as we were going that we were going to find great stuff on the road, and you can't plan for that. But we also knew that tour was going to somehow be, we thought it would, like at the beginning when we were dumb, we thought it would just be a chapter of the documentary. Oh, and by the way, there was a 30th anniversary tour. Bang, next chapter. What Henry realized, and luckily so, and then what we started working on was that tour was going to be a constant through line of the evolution of the story that we were trying to tell. Because Monster Squad has a couple histories. It has its year that it came out and died, or the week it came out and died. It had, and then it had from that interim to where the kids found it next year on VHS and on HBO. And then it had that whole dead period to 2006 when no one even talked about this movie until we had a cast reunion screening in 2006. And then that launched this whole resurgence that still hasn't stopped. It's just now a thing, and brought this movie back from, back from limbo, and resurrected, the fervor and the fan love, and just, it was always there. It just now people had a place to go. And we knew that tour was going to be sort of a through line. And then we lucked out with our very last interview, I believe that we did, which was Fred Decker's interview, that ended up being the counter interview. It was the anti-celebration interview of everybody else's. So it was sort of the counter punch to what everybody else was celebrating. Yeah. And we used that throughout. That could have just been in and out and bang, and, but Henry found a way to craft this whole story with so much to tell and so much to see. We left a lot on the floor also. Yeah. So much so that, unfortunately, our distributor in the US and Canada chose not to release the 60 minutes of bonus features that we have just to the documentary. 60 minutes. Wow. Yeah, we have 60 minutes. Most of it's extended interviews with Fred and Shane and Shane Black and Adam Goldberg and things like that. But a lot of it is like on the road stuff and hijinks and short films that we made and little funny things and pranks that we played. Other interviews of fans that didn't make the cut, but I thought were important. And a music video. Like we made a music video. Really? And so there's 60 minutes of bonus features that we made that the US and Canada folks didn't get on the Blu-ray or didn't get on the digital download. And that wasn't, my decision or our decision. That was the distributor's decision, much to our chagrin. Hopefully the international release will actually have that. Wolfman's got Nards part 2. I don't know if we have enough for part 2, but I'll be damned if we don't have 60 minutes of just fun hijinks and extended interviews. Make it a whole prank show. Yes, I think what what you said, Jason, like not being what it expect, what most people expect. They expect it to be like this total, just hey, let's just look at this nostalgia jag and like a featurette. And a lot of people thought that it was just going to be a companion piece to like a 4K restored release. And some studios actually that were looking at distributing it were actually talking about that. We're like, if that's the only way this movie gets out, fine. However, this is a standalone documentary because it's not just Monster Squad. This is about how something like a movie, insert said whatever movie you want in here, how it can impact and affect people and change their lives in some way, shape, or form, whether it's professionally, emotionally, or just enjoyment based. So that was the core. And what it isn't, it's not a "where are they now, doc?" Although you see us in there. And it's not a making of doc, although we have some of that awesome BTS stuff that no one's ever seen. But we use that strategically. We use that BTS stuff because they were actually making a documentary of us making this movie in 1986. And we got our hands on that BTS footage.
That's awesome.
We used bits and pieces of it strategically and technically and emotionally in certain aspects. We could have just, been very simple filmmakers and said, chapter 4, 86 documentary that never aired anywhere. Watch this short featurette. But we interspersed it with the story that we told. And I thought that was deftly done by Henry, when we're inserting what story you wanted to tell, because Henry took his cues from Fred and Shane inside of our chapters, and even inside of our interviews, and definitely inside from our beginning to the end of our documentary. We wanted setups and payoffs.
Yeah, no, wow. It was well done. It was it was perfect for a Monster Squad fan, and again, you kind of tapped on the nerve. You got a knack for tapping on the nerve with this property, so you gotta keep it going somehow. Got to get those treatments into the right hands.
Yeah, we didn't know in 2006 if anybody was going to come to that reunion screening, and they sold out 2 shows on Easter Saturday. And then launched this whole thing. And what's crazy is a year later, we were at our first convention and they announced that a DVD was coming out. And that's where we did the interviews. Was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey at Monster Mania. And, fast forward, that was 2007. So I don't know, do the math. It's 2021 now. I am 14. Ryan Lambert, myself, Ashley Bank, who played Phoebe, Duncan, and a couple of them, we're all returning to Philadelphia to do Monster Mania next month.
Oh, that's cool.
That's exciting.
And this is, years later, even though we've done, dozens and dozens of conventions and appearances, we're going back to the first one that we ever did.
That's awesome.
And, this is crazy. It seems like 100 years after the fact that we're still talking about this movie, but it's nice now that it's not just, yes, I get to go now talk about Wolfman's Got Nards, which is also nice, and promote that and have other conversations. Like we've been able to, the last 20 minutes, we've been able to talk about that with questions and answers and insights. So that's fun because it's fresh. And even Ashley and Ryan get to talk about the doc because they were a major part of it.
For sure. Yeah.
And it wouldn't, if they didn't participate, the doc would suck.
Yeah.
It just would not be what it is.
Definitely. They were great.
So I owe them a lot, and because I put them through a lot. Because not only did I make them go on a 17-day, city tour, then they had to come in and do their sit down and other stuff and be on camera for off and on for 10 months. Wow. But so I have nothing but gratitude and thanks to Ashley and Ryan and even Steven's in there and all the creature guys that we interview and Fred and Shane and all the
You're
fans
the leader. You're the leader of the Monster Squad, right?
I'm still bossing them around. Right?
Yeah, you lead by example because you're in the fire too, and that's awesome. So we are gonna wrap it up. But before I do, this is kind of the cool thing about doing some of the stuff that I do. And I kind of, so you had just had your heart attack, and I got so we did this on the Slices podcast. I interviewed you, and you had mentioned something about a deleted scene, which had Dustin Diamond, who played Screech in Saved by the Bell, and at that time he had just really passed. I think that week he had passed, and and so that interview was just on YouTube for the longest time, and you had your heart attack, and about a day or two later, I wake up in the morning, I see this long comment on YouTube, and it's from Dustin Diamond's father, and it was all about, and I don't think he knew that you had suffered a heart attack. It was just a real sweet note basically saying how good you were to him and how great the experience was working with you for his son. And it was a real just note that came out of nowhere. And so I passed it on to you. I figured at the time maybe you could you can use a little bit of positivity. And I thought that was a really, really cool moment. And yeah,
I did too. I was blown away by that his dad, even remembered that, or would take the time to write that note to you. And then I appreciate you, forwarding that, because that's powerful stuff. I mean, that was really awesome to go back and realize that something like that went down for someone who became so iconic on his own. That I also think what you will of Dustin Diamond as a person or as a character, and whatever you think know or assume or whatever, you're probably about 99% wrong. Because you don't know, it's not just Dustin, it's anybody. You don't know them, you don't understand. Was Dustin quirky? Absolutely. That's what made him stand out. And he became this iconic character that other people made him be, and he took it on his own and owned it, and became this worldwide iconic character that people just like to clown and make fun of. And I was like, that's a little unfair, because this is what he's supposed to be doing. You're supposed to enjoy the clown. Screech is a clown. The clown is an ancient performer. Whether you know it or not, or whether Dustin knows it or not, or whether people that write episodes of Saved by the Bell know it or not. The jester, the court jester, the clown, the spoof, the mythological, jester, in ancient Babylon, these are the original performers that were supposed to delight you, enlighten you, scare you, spoof you, make fun of the royals, make fun of the gods, and they're your voice that you can't be. And we have great clowns today. We have great clowns. Robin Williams, a clown. You don't have to wear floppy shoes and a nose to be a clown. And I think Dustin became a modern day iconic clown without his say so, or without his knowledge. And I wish he would have either been able to, or other people had said, hey, let's manage this awesome and just make sure this is good stuff and nothing gets out of whack. Now, you can't police everybody, and we're all human beings and we want to live our own lives. But I think, I'm not getting into judging Dustin as a human, because I also hadn't seen him in many, 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 many years. I just know that a lot of the response that someone like Dustin Diamond got was shit. Was crap. People did not understand, it's very easy to, drag someone, as all the kids say now, drag somebody on Facebook or, on a YouTube comment, and you don't know this person. You don't know what you would do if you were in their shoes or had that career. I wish it turned out different for Dustin. He died way too young. He died of, was it thyroid cancer? And or throat cancer, something cancer in his neck and thing. And, because he probably, and look, there's another cautionary tale. And I just went through the same thing. It's like, you don't know what's going to come up and get you.
For sure.
And if something's wrong, go get it looked at. And it broke my heart to hear his girlfriend say, Dustin knew something was wrong, but he didn't want to go to the doctor because they said he'd have to go to the hospital and people would talk about him. And I'm like, this is not right. And, I'd like to think if I was near him, or if I had the resources or wasn't, and the reason he wasn't going to go get his thing looked at that may have saved his life, shit, I would have flown there and driven you. And then I would have stood in front of your door and punched anybody that wanted to come in and say anything stupid. Because you don't have access to it. That's not right. And I think we lost someone who probably could have done some other fun stuff. no one's going to put Dustin Diamond in the same category as River Phoenix or Heath Ledger. But why not?
Yeah.
Different performers, different iconography, just as big.
Yeah.
Saved by the Bell is a worldwide thing. Everybody knows and loves Saved by the Bell.
No, it's true. You're right.
I mean, if you're gonna make fun of somebody, you make fun of Mario Lopez. I mean, come on.
That's right. Nowhere to throw the rock.
Because he doesn't age and he's too damn good looking.
Our next guest is going to be Mario Lopez.
And now joining us.
Amazing. And he's looks the same for the last 30 years.
It's crazy. You're right.
He has hosting gigs and he's amazing.
You're right.
And that's what should make you believe in vampires.
Maybe Mario is a vampire.
We're gonna start a hate campaign for Mario Lopez on this show. I think.
It's a love campaign.
I think it's time.
Get him on there.
I think it's time he gets taken down a peg.
He's had it too good for too long.
Yeah, this chiseled.
That dimple can't be natural. That dimple has got to be supernatural.
Yeah, it's CGI.
It's just too great. But and Mark Paul, I knew Mark Paul when they were doing the show. And look, Saved by the Bell is almost a million bazillion people's favorite show of all time, and it should be, because it was super entertaining for a certain amount of time. And people don't give Mark Paul credit for actually how good he is. He's fantastic.
I like him as an actor. I do.
Just go watch those 2 or 3 seasons of NYPD Blue, and you don't realize Mark Paul's good. And then watch his other shows, and frankly, he's awesome.
Yeah.
And I think the gals on that show got a bad rap. Tiffany Thiessen went out and did okay, but Elizabeth Berkley kind of ran into a brick wall called Showgirls for the wrong reason.
I kind of love that movie though.
This is a whole other podcast. Showgirls is completely viewed wrong by just about everybody. If you got to know Verhoeven, and everything done in Showgirls is on purpose. It's not bad acting or bad writing. It's done on purpose. And it's this over amplified camp, and everybody's fantastic in it. It's one of my favorite movies, and it has nothing to do with the gratuitous dancing. It's because I love that movie because it's so over the top, and that's why I can watch Starship Troopers a million times and still enjoy it, because that is also done on purpose. Everybody thinks the stupid campy sci-fi movie that was made in the 90s that's supposed to look like it was made in the 60s. I was like, exactly. It's all on. It's not bad because it looks that way. It looks that way because it's on purpose, you morons. Like, understand what you're watching and enjoy it from a different lens. And I did a podcast that was just about Starship Troopers for 3 hours with a live audience. Where were we? We were in Sheffield, England. It was insane.
Wow.
So that's a whole other thing. But I don't know how we got on that. We got on Dustin. But so what I was talking about is, if you're going to go, that note that you sent to me was amazing. And I don't know how to, respond except for just trying to do more of the same thing. If you
be
get
good to people, right?
And I don't even remember being different to Dustin. He was there for a day. And school was just a new kid. It's like, I was like, whoa, this is a different kid. Like, he had a different look and he had this energy. And I was like, thinking back on it, you're like, watch out for this kid. I can totally tell why he became a worldwide icon.
Well, honestly, you made an impact on him, his life, his parents, and that's pretty awesome. You can't ask for better than that. And obviously, you've made an impact on so many Monster Squad fans over the years, and you made an impact on me and Megan. And honestly, Andre, we just want to wish you like extended good health. And thank you so much for being on this podcast, on the show.
Well, it is. That's right. It's a show.
It's a show.
It's much more. It's much better.
That's right.
I appreciate that. I'm glad we have the opportunity to connect like this. I appreciate you inviting me back. And
for sure.
Look forward to the next time. And Megan, I'm glad you're in the goddamn club now.
Yeah,
me too.
Looking forward to you seeing the doc now that you've seen Monster Squad. And you said the person that introduced you to you was a fan, so you'll understand Monster Squad fandom a little bit, told through the lens of the people that were there and the original fans. And I hope you enjoy that. And thanks for having me on, guys.
Thanks a lot, Andre.
Thanks for being on.
Stay healthy, and we'll talk to you soon.
I'm definitely, that's the plan.
Okay.
That's the plan.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks,
See you
guys.
later, man.
Bye.
Bye.
Good old Andre, eh?
Oh yeah.